Hey everyone, welcome back to the True Safety Podcast. I'm the producer, Seth Silvers, here with Apolonia Rockwell, CEO of True Safety. Apolonia, how is your day going?
Oh my gosh, I'm doing awesome. Awesome. I'm almost in my 5th month of pregnancy and I'm thriving so far. So we'll see how long this lasts.
Good. Yeah, that's amazing. Amazing to hear. So today we're talking about kind of one of your core messages, which is that training is always changing. In the past, we had a couple episodes with John Dunsmore, really talking about the exciting things that are here right now for training, but that are going to become more commonplace in the future. And so we just wanted to have one episode where we really focus on this message of, training is always changing. And sometimes that's really easy for people to get on board with. And sometimes that's really hard for people to get on board with. And so some of the recent episodes, we've talked about the future of training. I'm curious, do you think that is training always going to be evolving and always going to be changing? Or are some of the changes that we're seeing right now with things going more virtual, is there going to be like a peak where okay, this is what training is for the next 100 years or something?
Yeah.
Or is training always going to be changing?
Yeah. Well, what's interesting about that is, yes, when you say, is training always going to be changing? How I heard you say that is, are humans always going to be training or always going to be changing? And so, absolutely, I think that us humans are always going to be consuming information differently. And so that's actually how I interpreted that question there. And what's really interesting is that the more companies that I start working with or I'm networking with, is the majority of companies know that training should be evolving within their organization, but they're not.
Right.
And they're not on a corporate level at a mom and pop shop, at a medium-sized company. A lot of people, and I don't know if this is a direct correlation with just post-COVID and people are just really trying to start having the same year that they had pre-COVID. And so everyone's excited. Everyone was just trying to get back to normal. Let's just get back to normal. Let's just get back to safety meetings. So to make it relatable is the last year, everyone's moved to, let's say, virtual safety meetings. So right now, everyone's like, our first milestone needs to just be in-person safety meetings. So I don't know if I'm a little bit premature talking about virtual training and AR, VR, but that's where we're going,
Right.
human-wise. So.
Yeah. And I mean, you think back 50 years ago, what would that have been? 1971. I don't think that people would have imagined, being able to do a safety meeting with everybody while Steve is on the job site, Ro is at home, the person leading the meeting is in another state.
Yeah,
I don't think we would have imagined being able to have a safety meeting where we're all seeing each other, but we're in, 15 different places.
Yeah.
Now that's commonplace. Similarly, 10 years ago and even now, but especially 10 years ago, I don't think anybody would imagine that, when we're doing excavation and trenching training, that you'd put some weird thing over your eyeballs and you'd be in the trench.
And it was going to be enforced by federal law.
Yeah, exactly. You wouldn't think that would be unimaginable. And so I think in the same way, there's probably aspects of training 20, 30 years down the road that we can't imagine now, but at some point they'll be commonplace. And so I think it is super important just to realize yes, humans are going to always be changing. Technology is always going to be developing, always going to be evolving. And so that's going to trickle down into training. And so I'd love to know, what are some of the areas that you're most excited about? I know you've talked about VR and AR, but are there a few areas that you're particularly excited about for the changes that are coming in training?
Yeah, so we're definitely here at True Safety. So we're starting small, not producing 100% VR classes right now. That's where I hope to go. And that's what I'm interested in learning more and more about. But so we're taking small steps with our customers. And so one thing that I'm really excited about super passionate about is changing two things. So changing the way we experience safety meetings in person and even virtually. So changing up our safety meetings and then changing our training, like for an example, our trenching excavation courses, our fall protection courses. And what I mean by small steps towards a change is taking John Dunsmore is helping me. He is a gentleman that we've had um, on the podcast previously, and he is the director of innovation at the OSHA Training Institution here in Colorado. Also the Rocky Mountain Education Center here. So, but anyway, so what we're working on is taking a camera and just scanning, just videoing a job site. So let's say AB Excavation Company, we go out to their job site and we actually get footage of their actual equipment, their actual people, and actual job site. And so you take that experience and you bring it to the safety meeting. You bring it to a trenching excavation training. You bring that footage to a new hire orientation. And that way people are seeing, experiencing, not feeling, but close to, they're able to experience real life hazards, real life situations, because our imaginations can only go so far with PowerPoint, right? And so, I don't know about you, but I'm a visual learner. I think we all are, more visually inclined and will learn more that way than we would than talking about a general scenario out of a textbook.
Yeah. I'm curious to your first year on the field. Like, how is training different now than it was your first year on the job?
Yeah, well, and the reason why that's such a great question is because training like that is still going on, and it's going on a lot with
Yeah.
all different types of companies. But my first experience with safety training was in a shop with safety people that didn't care about safety. They didn't know about what any of the workers did. They had never been in our welding shop. They'd never been on our job sites. So it was really hard to listen to somebody that hadn't experienced what we've experienced. And so it was sitting down in front of a PowerPoint that was a 1990s OSHA PowerPoint, super general. And I just remember thinking, there has to be a better way because I learned nothing. I'm the hazard on the job because I don't know what I'm looking at. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not an expert like these guys are. And so I didn't learn anything. So how can we make this better?
Yeah.
Is what I thought.
Yeah, it can only go up from there.
Yeah,
I think, yeah, I mean, and I think one of the biggest obstacles, and like, I think, we can this is a shorter episode, but it's something important to talk about is like, there's a lot of people that they're maybe opposed to like changes in training. Like they just want to do things how they've been done. And so
yeah.
what are some of the biggest obstacles you run into when you're talking to people about training that is innovating and that's changing and that's necessary, doing it, for good reasons?
I think the biggest concern or objection is the unknown. So if I bring up AR to an owner or a leadership team, for the most part, they're thinking, what does that mean? Number one, what's the cost? Okay, Apolonia, you have these brilliant ideas, but what's the cost? And then number two would be, okay, how do we execute this? I think those are the two biggest things is how accessible is it? And then what is this going to cost me?
Right.
And so what we're finding out is that the example that I gave you about getting footage of a job site and then presenting that in a safety meeting, or presenting it in a QR code where you're in a class, you scan the screen, and now you're able to move your phone around and you're able to really see the job site. That the camera, I don't know, $200, $300, and then cost of time to go out and get that footage. So it's not as expensive as people are thinking when they hear AR and VR, I would say.
Yeah. I think those are definitely the obstacles that, when I've talked to a lot of, your customers and clients over the years as well. And so it's like, those are definitely the obstacles. Those are the first things people want to know is like, what does it cost? And I think that in safety in general, people just need to understand like safety is so much about opportunity cost. It's everybody knows they need safety once they have an incident.
Yeah,
But then beforehand, it is, I get it. It's really easy to wonder like, what does it cost? How much time is it going to be? But it's really, I think we need to change the questions that we're asking to really be thinking about, okay, what's it going to cost to not have the best training? It's probably going to cost you jobs. Like, if you have a reputation for having the best and the most innovative training,
mhm,
companies are going to be more likely to hire you. So, I mean, it's going to cost you potential revenue, but also, it might cost you, hopefully not, but it might cost you incidents. And
absolutely.
so I
Yeah,
think,
the
yeah,
balance.
we need to change the questions that we're asking about it because there's a lot of obstacles out there. And there's a lot of people that, it's just, and that's human nature. It's just easier to do what we've been doing, but it's so necessary for us to continue to like change the way that we're doing things.
Absolutely. I think that there would be one major takeaway for our listeners today. It would be, I would just challenge you to look at your internal training program and think, when was the last time we updated this thing? When was the last
Yeah.
time that we did anything different when it came to our beginning with our new hire onboarding, to our continuous training, to our specialty classes? Are we bringing in the same insurance provider to do the fall protection class that everybody falls asleep at and hates? Or is everyone falling asleep at your safety meeting and you're wondering, oh, everyone just hates training because it's training? And it's like, no, take accountability and think
Yep.
like, what could you do different? Because those are the questions I asked myself when I thought, why does everyone hate safety training? Hey, I'm the trainer. What do I need to change about myself, my techniques, my ability to communicate a message? How can I engage this crowd? Because that's my responsibility. That's our responsibility as leaders, as safety leaders, as whatever your title is. If you just want to take the next level at your company, we just need to look at when's the last time we did anything different around here.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, if you or somebody as a listener is looking to find out how training is changing and how you can be on top of that, keep listening. Like, this is going to be a conversation we continue to have. We continue to bring thought leaders onto the podcast. They're talking about how training is changing. And thank you so much for your time, Apolonia, today, and we will see you all next week.
Yeah, everyone, thank you for listening. If you have any questions, feel free to contact us.
Absolutely.
Thank you.